For centuries, humanity advanced with the confidence of mastering nature. But now, the balance of our planet is trembling. Climate change is no longer just an environmental issue. It is a global challenge that affects water resources, biodiversity, food security, migration, and even political stability. Some call it the defining crisis of our time. In this documentary, we'll explore the scientific foundations of climate change, its real impact on life and nature, the global search for solutions, and the future that lies ahead. Because facing climate change is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. To understand climate change, we must first understand how climate and weather work. Weather describes short-term atmospheric conditions, but climate refers to long-term patterns, average temperatures, rainfall, wind systems, and seasonal variations that span decades. Scientific measurements show that since the Industrial Revolution, the Earth's average surface temperature has risen by about 1 to 1.2 degrees. That may seem small, but in natural systems, such a rise causes enormous shifts in melting glaciers, rising sea levels, ocean warming, and disrupted ecosystems. Studies warn that if we fail to limit warming to within 1.52 degrees C, the damage could become irreversible. Rising concentrations of carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane, CH4, act like a thermal blanket around our planet. Sunlight reaches the Earth, warms the surface, and part of that heat radiates back toward space. But greenhouse gases trap some of that heat, preventing it from escaping. This is known as the greenhouse effect. Human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and intensive agriculture have greatly amplified this effect. Throughout Earth's history, natural climate fluctuations have occurred. Ice ages, warm periods, ocean current changes, but today's changes are distinct because of their speed and human origin. What once took thousands of years is now happening in mere decades. The consequences of this accelerated change are no longer distant projections, they are already unfolding. We can examine them in four main categories: ecosystem responses, ocean and ice dynamics, water and food security, and social-political impacts. Let's begin with ecosystems. Biodiversity is directly affected by changing temperatures and rainfall patterns. Countless species are losing their habitats or struggling to adapt. In polar regions, ice-dependent organisms face extinction. Coral reefs are bleaching as ocean temperatures and acidity rise. Tropical forests suffer from shifting rainfall patterns. In some areas, drought devastates plant life, while in others, torrential rain leads to erosion and flooding. The changes in ocean and ice dynamics are equally visible. Greenland and Antarctica's ice sheets are melting, causing sea levels to rise and threatening coastal cities and islands. As reflective ice surfaces disappear, less sunlight is bounced back into space, which further accelerates warming, a feedback loop. Ocean warming also reduces oxygen levels and increases acidity, threatening marine life such as shellfish and coral ecosystems. Global fisheries, vital to billions of people, are already under stress. Water and food security are next. Droughts, floods, and unpredictable rainfall patterns disrupt agriculture and irrigation systems. In Africa, recurring droughts jeopardize crops. In Asia, shifting monsoons threaten rice production. As the global population grows, demand for water and food rises, while climate stress makes it harder to meet those needs. Then there are the social and political consequences. Climate stress can trigger migration. When people lose access to water or farmland, they move. This places pressure on borders, economies, and infrastructure. Droughts can lead to internal unrest and conflict. Health systems face challenges from heat waves and changing disease patterns. Economically, climate-related damage to infrastructure, agriculture, and tourism increases costs globally. In the past, humans managed to live more harmoniously with nature. Local communities possessed deep ecological knowledge. Sustainable farming, water management, and forest use were common. But the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Urbanization, fossil fuel dependence, and a culture of mass consumption pushed the planet beyond its natural limits. Today, we are paying the price of that imbalance. To address this crisis, we must act at every level: individual, societal, and global. Let's look at 5 key strategies. 1. Reducing carbon emissions, net zero goals. Many nations have pledged to reach net zero emissions by 2050, balancing emitted greenhouse gases with those removed from the atmosphere. To achieve this, fossil fuel use must decline, renewable energy must expand, transportation must electrify, and technologies like carbon capture and storage, CCS, must mature. 2. Renewable energy and technological transformation. Solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and tidal power can replace fossil fuels. Falling solar panel costs, better battery storage, and smart grids make renewables more reliable. Electric vehicles, energy-efficient buildings, and advanced insulation systems all contribute to a lower carbon future. 3. Nature-based solutions. Protecting and restoring forests, wetlands, and soils helps absorb carbon naturally. These ecosystems are not only carbon sinks, but also protect biodiversity and regulate water cycles. 4. Adaptation strategies. Since some climate change is already inevitable, we must prepare for it. Climate-resilient agriculture, efficient irrigation, flood control, green urban planning, and early warning systems can all reduce vulnerability. 5. International cooperation and climate finance. Climate change knows no borders. Wealthier nations, responsible for the majority of emissions, must support low-income countries through climate finance and technology sharing. Global agreements like the Paris Accord aim to coordinate such actions through shared goals and transparent monitoring. Despite these plans, real-world challenges persist. Political inaction, short-term economic interests, fossil fuel lobbying, and lack of public awareness hinder progress. Technology alone is not enough. Climate action must also address social justice and equity. Let's look at a few real-world examples. Scandinavian countries have made impressive progress. Denmark leads in wind energy. Iceland uses geothermal power extensively. Germany's Energiewende aims to transition from coal and nuclear to renewables. China, now the world's largest solar panel producer, is investing heavily in large-scale solar farms. In Africa, microsolar systems are bringing electricity to remote villages, powering water pumps and schools. In Brazil, policies to protect the Amazon rainforest include involving indigenous communities in forest management, reducing deforestation and preserving biodiversity. In agriculture, regions are experimenting with salt-tolerant crops, dry farming methods, drip irrigation, and soil restoration to improve resilience. But not all solutions work perfectly. Large dam projects can disrupt ecosystems. Renewable projects without local consent can spark conflict. Adaptation measures can be costly for poor regions. That's why climate action must balance ecological, social, and economic dimensions. The 2020s have been called the decisive decade. Scientists warn that if we don't drastically cut emissions now, controlling atmospheric carbon will become far more difficult and expensive later. The coming years will determine the kind of planet future generations inherit. Every level of society must contribute: governments, corporations, civil organizations, and individuals. Because the climate crisis isn't just about the environment, it's about justice, development, and human survival. A few facts to remember. Sea levels have risen 15 to 20 centimeters over the past century. Extreme weather events, heat waves, droughts, and floods are becoming more frequent. The global carbon budget for staying below 1.5 degrees of warming is shrinking fast. Renewable energy capacity has grown exponentially, and costs continue to fall. Around 70% of global emissions come from energy, industry, and transport. Now, let's look ahead. Fighting climate change is not a competition. It's a transformation. No country, no person can bear this burden alone. But together, with strong policies, innovation, and awareness, hope is still possible. The cities of the future will be powered by renewable energy, built with green infrastructure, and designed to live in harmony with nature. Future agriculture will rely on low-carbon, climate-resilient methods. Environmental literacy will become part of everyday life. Yet this transformation is not just technical, it's about consciousness and willpower. Every choice we make today shapes tomorrow's world. Small actions add up to great change. Saving energy, choosing sustainable transport, consuming mindfully. Each of us is a part of the solution. In the end, the climate crisis is both humanity's greatest challenge and its greatest opportunity. With a new mindset, we can build a world that is cleaner, fairer, and more balanced. Because the choices we make today will decide the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the soil we stand on tomorrow. And remember this: change begins not with the world, but with you.